Good afternoon and welcome back to Laurel Park. Thank you for joining us this morning on Today at the Races. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by the one and only Dave Rodman. Welcome up.
Yeah, good to be back with you on the set here, on our brand new set, paddock side, here at Laurel Park, and a really nice day for racing. Cloudy skies, the rain's holding off, and that's good because we have some big fields on the turf, and of course a great stake today to the Alma North, kicking off our $1.6 million summer stake schedule.
We've got a big summer on tap and looking forward to getting to the Alma North later today. That turned out to be a very, very competitive stakes race. So we'll get to that. Some nice 2-year-old races, too. We've got a lot to get to on our 10-race program, so we're going to get right into the action. We're going to start things off with some happenings going on and around here at Laurel Park. And, of course, Father's Day is tomorrow. You can come out to the track and celebrate Father's Day at Laurel Park. Enjoy Sunday brunch for $22 per person in the Garden Terrace. The first 100 dads who purchase a brunch buffet meal will receive a Father's Day gift bag. So looking forward to that. And actually a week from today, on June 24th, we do have a bevy of stakes happening, 6 stakes to be specific, class on the grass. So really, again, looking forward to that. It looks like we might even have Ben's Cat actually running in the Mr. Diz Stakes, talking to King Leatherberry's assistant this morning. Looks like Ben's Cat will be running in the Mr. Diz. Last but certainly not least, we've got the Totally Thoroughbred Horse Show presented by Beyond the Wire. That's happening the day after all those 6 stakes, and that is on Sunday, June 25th at historic Pimlico Racecourse. You can cheer on retired thoroughbreds as they compete in lead line, hunter, and jumper equestrian classes. That's always a really fun event and always gets a pretty big turnout.
Yeah, it gets bigger and bigger every year. It's good to see him at Pimlico, and I don't know, one day you have a horse for that one?
I think we've given several, actually, in the past. I think, actually, Caton Bradar rode one of our horses a couple years ago.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Caton was there participating in a Totally Thoroughbred Horse Show. It's a fun time, bigger every year, and lots of good prizes, too, for the best there.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at some of our carryovers today. Yesterday, it was not very formful. It was kind of a tough day. I believe the early pick 5 paid over $12,000 and the late pick 5 was not hit, so we do get a carryover just shy of $3,500 in that late pick 5 sequence. In the rolling super high 5, we have a carryover of $290. That does kick off in the first race. Again, that takes place of 7 or more betting interest and happens throughout the afternoon. We also have that Rainbow 6 carryover, $7,200 in that. And I was kind of mentioning this yesterday, but last week we had about a $7,000 carryover. Oftentimes when we have a carryover like that, we see okay money be put into it, but last week we had $18,000 additional money into the pool. So I think in between the great racing we have today and in between maybe the Gulfstream Park mandatory payout in the pick 6, we might get some action in this today.
Yeah, don't let that pick 6 slip under the radar today with that $1 million payout at Gulfstream Park. $1 million in the pool right now at Gulfstream Park. It's a mandatory payout at Gulfstream, so that pool is going to skyrocket there. Certainly worth the play at Gulfstream for that. But with the Alma North Stakes, very competitive race, maybe you can find a single in one of those races like that and make it basically a pick 5 or even a pick 4 if you can find a couple here at Laurel.
I did come up with a ticket for the pick 6, so we'll take a look at that later on this afternoon. We'll take a look at our track and weather conditions. Right now we are fast and firm. We had some rain throughout the area last night. Hopefully the showers hold off this afternoon, but track conditions look great. We've got 10 races on tap. We're probably going to get into the 80s, cloudies, as I said, chance of rain. Yesterday, though, the turf was very fast, especially on the bowl game turf course, that railing at 17 feet. We had some pretty quick times.
Yeah, last weekend we used different configurations on the grass and some course records. Still quick yesterday, but I'd say if it does rain here today, and that's very slim chance, it'll be just a tenth of an inch. The course really needs just a little sprinkling, and that's maybe what we'll get this afternoon. Just a slight chance of a passing shower or maybe a thunderstorm through the area. So no worries about the turf. It's definitely firm and that main track fast.
Yes, I would say so, definitely. All right, we'll get into today's action, and we start things off with today's opener. We're going to the one-turn mile on the main track for this $7,500 claiming event for 3-year-olds and upward, which have not won a race since December 17th. And I actually I thought that you could throw in some prices in here underneath. Early money's landing on the 5 at 3 to 5. Once again, we do have that small super high 5 carryover in the opener, and the early pick 5 starts in race 1. Dave, what was your take on this race, especially with a key scratch of the 7 Riverwalk weekend?
Well, Champagne Time looks like the filly to beat here. I mean, she runs basically every couple of weeks, and she's coming back in a little quick turnaround. June 8th win out of town at Delaware. She won here in Maryland, Pimlico time before, looking for 3 in a row. Claudio Gonzalez having a bit of a slow start to this meet, but don't let that fool you, because the last 30 days, Gabby, he's sitting at 19%. He's just been winning everywhere. Pimlico, Laurel, Parks, Delaware, Penn National, all wins from the Gonzalez barn in the last 30 days. So effectively, he is keeping up that 19 to 23% win clip, and he's got the filly here, Champagne Time, as your top pick.
And usually we see the Claudio Gonzalez barn. They do have a tendency to really go in and out. They go through slumps, but then when you start seeing them on the incline, they are set for a couple of really solid weeks. So Champagne Time, especially with the scratch of the 7 just towards her inside, you know, she's not that slow. I thought that she could be a little bit more tactical, especially at the mile distance, kind of similarly to how she ran last time out. Other than that, I gave a little look at the Ford Tatr sale at a price, using her in the trifecta just because I like the stretch out and distance, and I think that she could be maybe a speed play. If you look at previously, especially last year when she was running at least longer distances on the main track, she was okay. She might have to battle with Wisdom of Oz, who does draw the rail, who seems to be pretty speedy.
She hasn't done much off the claim, beaten us about 50 lengths in her last couple of starts, turf and dirt, but look at those races. Those are a starter allowance kind of races. This $7,500 claiming race with conditions attached, so dropping into easier company here for Kelly Lynn Dieter Tattersell.
All right, we'll get to the second race on today's program. That is a maiden $40,000 event, 5.5 furlongs onto the turf. And this is another pretty interesting race. I ultimately did land on the entry with a little bit of interest to the one Magician's Question for Mike Trombetta. Now, I will say I'm proceeding with a little bit of caution. If I were to play the early pick 4, early pick 5, I would definitely use several horses in this leg of the sequence, because Mike Trombetta going from turf to dirt with his sprinters, especially maidens, not great. 9% out of 54 horses. So I will say that it is a cautionary stat. However, the mare broke her maiden sprinting on the turf, and this horse is actually Kentu Harbinger of Things, who we know from running around this area was very good on the turf. So I wonder if she's actually going to improve with a surface change.
Yeah, I think she will today. I think she will, going 5.5 on the turf, and that's been a key race. Shackle Me Good, a 4th place finisher in that race. When Magician's Question was 6, came back to win the other night out of town. Unfortunately, I missed that horse. It's on my stable mail, forgot about it, and of course you know what happens, right in the winner's circle. So big surface change for her today for Magician's Question.
And obviously on form, though, the 8 Natural Notion would probably be the horse to beat. She's taken a drop in class for maiden special weight company and to the maiden 40 level today. A decent outside post position, and this will be her second start off the layoff, and not a bad performance at all last time out.
I think this is really a turf filly. She's been out 6 times, twice on the grass, but look at who she faced first time out, Fly, who's really having a good year. I think she's going to be a stakes winner. Sylphide, the winner of her last start, came home that last 8th and 11 and 2/5, a little more than that last time out. Her numbers a little bit better on the turf than dirt. She's back on grass again this afternoon for a 3rd turf start. a filly, a little bit of talent, and she finished really strongly last time out. When you go back and look at the video replay, a solid fourth with a late rally between rivals. So she's okay, Natural Notion.
And you can only think that she's going to improve with a little bit more distance to that 5.5 furlongs today, given how she was running in the late stages of her last race. Were there any horses that piqued your interest other than the two logical horses, the entry and obviously the outside horse?
Maybe Not Above Love. A dam was a turf winner, so that's excuse me, the second dam was a turf winner there. If you go back in the family on the dam side, so there's some turf pedigree there. And this is one of those horses from the Hammy Smith barn, prepared down there for Romans and Zuman Fish Stable at Ellery. Comes to Maryland, so you know she's ready to rock first time out for Ham Smith and first time on the turf. There's turf pedigree on the bottom second dam in the family, Not Above Love.
All right, let's get to some 2-year-old action, and we've got two very nice maiden special weights for 2-year-olds today. Very much looking forward to Dirty Foot coming back, but the third race is another very nice 2-year-old maiden special weight. Now, we do have 2 scratches in here, the 1 Sing Dixie Charge and the 4 Anna Strong, but Cal Lynch is still well represented with Theodosia, and we actually caught up with Cal Lynch a couple days ago to hear what he had to say about this filly.
Well, we're a little partial to the exchange rate this year after Ellery, but this filly's been doing everything really well. Been quick from the gate. A couple of her works have been eye-catching. Equine Prep sent her to me from Ocala, and she came in really well along, and we just put the last few works in her, and we're hoping she runs to her training. She'll be very competitive.
What do you expect for her on Saturday? Do you expect her to show a little bit of gate speed? Where do you expect her to be kind of in the body of the race?
Yeah, 5/8 you're expecting. You're hoping that they show enough speed away from there like she has in the morning. If she does, we expect her to be up there head and head. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if she go wire to wire. You know, that's what we hope for.
Cal Lynch actually sending out 2 2-year-olds today, and he said 1 colt, 1 filly. He said the filly is a little bit quicker out of the gate as actually what she's shown in the morning. But before we get into talking about Theodosia, I wanted to actually show you a stat for Cal Lynch with his 2-year-old fillies. First-time starters on the dirt. It's impressive. 34%, positive ROI of $2.98, 59% in the money. She was well prepared at Oak Ridge Training Center down in Ocala. Came up north to Laurel in good shape. I think that this horse might be pretty talented.
Yeah, and the 36 handily from the gate, that's the key work there, the 27th. There were several horses at work that morning about the same time, including the horse you just mentioned, She's On. We'll see later in the day. The boy from the Cal Lynch barn. We'll get to that colt a little bit later.
And we'll look to the outside horse, so the 9 Limited View. This is an interesting horse, and you and I were talking off air a little bit about Freedom Child, who's currently standing at Country Life Farm. He's a freshman sire. I think he might be having some success as a freshman sire.
Well, and there's only a slight chance of rain, but if it does rain, maybe put extra mud mark. I remember Freedom Child galloping on an off track up at Saratoga, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. We'll have a fast track today. Yeah, he had a winner at Delaware. Was it last week? The horse crossed the wire first, but unfortunately was disqualified. There's another horse out in California by Freedom Child. It's creating a little bit of buzz in the morning workouts, so maybe Country Life Farm has a live first crop sire here in Freedom Child. I know they're rooting for this filly to win after some bad luck last week. But now looking at the pedigree of this filly, maybe a little bit better suited for the turf. There's a lot of turf on the dam side, the second dam.
And speaking of turf, too, I also thought that potentially maybe not even turf, but definitely more distance is going to help Pauline's Raven towards the inside. And with some of the scratches, you know, she gets the blinkers put on. She was so slow coming out of the gate. And Salzman said going into the race, they didn't think that she would show much gate speed. She's akin to Pauline's Pride, who took a while to break her maiden and also wound up going long on the turf.
Right, long on the turf. Didn't have a lot of speed, but had a little bit of kick on the turf going long eventually. So maybe one to put on the radar for later on. Maybe the blinkers will wake her up in the dirt at a shorter distance, but she'll certainly be a bit of a price, probably with the pedigree of Theodosia and the good words by Cal Lynch there on her possible talent.
And before we move on, quick pedigree note of the 8 Carson City coin for Kenny Decker. This filly's actually kin to Leap Year Luck, who won a pair of Florida sired series stakes in her 2-year-old season, or in his 2-year-old season, and then actually went on to win against Stakes Company at 2. So there's some precocity on the bottom side of that pedigree as well. We'll turn the page to the 4th race. This is the non-winners of 3 lifetime claiming event, 16,000 mile and a 16th onto the turf course. And I guess we'll start off with Beaches and Bourbon, who I think has been very impressive lately. I think she's really been running to her competition. We'll show you the video spotlight replay of her performance last time out. This was off a layoff since October. Were you as impressed by this race as I was?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't come home all that fast, I didn't think, but you got Caramanos to shake her up today. She was a length winner. Pardon Tori's French, who was a bit of a troubled, I believe, 4th yesterday afternoon here at Laurel Park on the turf. So that's a positive note. Caramanos, this will be his actually first mount of the day. As his mount in the second race got a giggle, was scratched. So he's sitting on $19.99. So maybe get it over with right away. Caramanos win number 2,000 possibly on Beaches and Bourbon there. It was a good effort, and especially considering the way Pardon Tori's French came back to run okay yesterday.
I feel like you have a little hesitation in your voice here. So who did you like over her?
Well, I didn't really have a strong opinion there. You know, maybe participate, but where is she going to be? I mean, I think the thing that might help her is that we do have a firm ground. Good last time out at Pimlico, yielding prior to that at Laurel, prompted, tired, was only beaten 2 lengths. Maybe can hear her who's rattle a little bit on the firm going. She's had speed in the past. She's certainly a dangerous speed participant there, participate.
I agree with you. She's going to definitely improve getting back to a firmer going. It just seems like that is her preferred surface. Now, in terms of pace in here, too, I actually thought that there was going to be maybe a decent amount of pace, but that pace might not sustain. So I thought that could actually help the likes of Participate and help the likes of Beaches and Bourbon, because we have horses like She Is Special, who's stretching out in distance to a mile and a 16th from a couple of sprints. Royal Louise, who's stretching out. Zippity Gal, who's pretty quick. So I don't believe that the pace is going to hold together. So that's why I kind of like some of these stalkers or closers.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Participate could show early foot, but maybe she won't. Perhaps she'll be just behind a horse like Zippity Gal, who slowed down the pace on yielding ground. But you've got to realize that was yielding ground, and the horse still came home okay, considering beating only a half lengths behind Secret or not. Another filly who right off the bat, off the claim, in the Leatherberry Barn at the time, got up to win from just off of it. So fillies perhaps who are adaptable in their tactics in this race. So it'll be interesting to see what the riders do here. It's not really that clear a picture to me in the 4th race.
It's very difficult indeed. But that is races 1 through 4. We will step aside for a short break, and when we come back, we'll tackle the 20-cent Rainbow Six right after this.
In the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Either way, you win. Have a stake in the race with ExpressBet.
Joined by Dave Rodman, and we're looking at race 5, a nice maiden special weight for the 2-year-olds, a full field of boys. Now we'll first take a look at that 20-cent Rainbow Six. We do have a nice carryover over $7,200 today, so do not forget about this pick 6, because it's a fun sequence. I think in certain legs you definitely can find a single and spread in others. It's a good sequence to try to have a good strategy with today. So here is my strategy. And it's gutsy because honestly, I did single on Dirty Foot, but we never know what 2-year-olds are capable of. I did find it a little bit more difficult as you tried to sift through the latter half of the card to find a single. So hopefully he shows as much talent as he did first time out today. So that's the single, Dirty Foot. As we move along, spreading in the 6th race with 4 horses, just using the 3-9 in race 7. In the 8th race, I did use several horses. I had a tough time with that race. In the feature, I'm just going to be using Yellow Agate and a Stroll in the Park. Now, I could definitely have used Shimmering Aspen. I could definitely used Sine Wave, but again, we need to keep this on a limited bankroll. $57.60 will do it for me. And we'll check in with race 5, Dave. And this is again a maiden special weight for the 2-year-old boys. And we were talking about Dirty Foot. Seemed to show a lot of talent first time out for Robbie Bales. Stan Salter actually caught up with Robbie a couple days ago, and here's what he had to say.
I think he's doing really well. Came out of the race well. We're adding blinkers for Saturday, and I think that's going to move him a little bit farther forward. And like I said, we really liked him a lot going into his first race. We just caught a tough horse in there, and like I said, hopefully we'll have a little bit better luck on Saturday.
And we'll show you the video spotlight replay of Dirty Foot. He's breaking from this post 6 this day. This is first time out. And Dave, you can kind of see him break outwardly, and I'm pretty sure that's why the blinkers are going on today.
Yeah, and the encouraging thing is the blinkers go on, and we'll mention the winner in a moment, but he's come back since that race here at Laurel at June 14th, 3 days ago, to work 35 3/5. Now, he'd been working forwardly prior to his debut, and, of course, the addition of blinkers, but, you know, he just might zip along today at a good clip. He's gonna need to, might have to have his running shoes on against some of these first-time starters. But look at the horse he was behind there. He Hate Me. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another nice algorithms colt for Sagamore, isn't it?
All right. Who was very impressive. He actually broke last in the field. He Hate Me, the eventual winner, was very, very green, made a big, big move on the turn on going away, and came back to win the Tremont in New York at Belmont. So obviously he's the focus horse. He's by Tis Wonderful. He's got everything going for him. You know, Tis Wonderful's had several standout runners. So you know, I don't know if they like the fact that they have another Sagamore horse in
I
the
was
entries,
just going to say
breaking
that.
their inside in Da-Da-Da-Dude, who we'll talk about in a moment.
That'll be a fun one for you to call. Da-Da-Da-Dude. First-time starter for Horacio de Paz. It's a homebred for Sagamore Farm. By Artie Schiller on the bottom side, the mare, she was a little bit better on the turf. The only other foal out of the mare did not really run that well. So I'm wondering if turf would probably be in this horse's future. Other than that, we have Cheese On in here. I want to get to Cheese On here, first-time starter for Cal Lynch. Caught up with Cal Lynch a couple days ago, not only to get insight on what the name means, but what he expects for today.
It's a nickname of a friend of the owner's who passed away. His son passed away, and that was his nickname. So don't be surprised if there's a couple of guys there with Cheese On t-shirts on Saturday. Horse been working well. He's done everything right. Mr. Baxter came out and watched him breeze here last week, and we were pleased with him. Sheldon worked him, and they worked a nice half and galloped out 5/8. 101. So we're expecting him to run well. I'm not sure if he'll be as quick away from the gate as the fillies, but he's done everything right so far. So he came from Webb Carroll's, and we're expecting him to run well. He's had a few good winners already, and this horse fits in with his bunch. The outside horse in here ran against a nice horse, He Hate Me, that won the Tremont there last weekend. So obviously I would expect him to be favourite and having a race under him, and a good race at that. But we're going to be competitive.
Now, you say that you expect him maybe not to show as much gate speed as the fillies that you have on Saturday. How do you think that might compromise him with an inside post position?
Definitely, it'll be an issue to overcome, but the horse has done everything right so far and doesn't seem to mind. We've worked him in behind horses and worked him on the lead, and it doesn't seem to bother him either way. So we're hoping he does that in the afternoon like he does in the morning. Sometimes they surprise you.
Exactly. 2-year-olds always surprise you. Well, thank you, Cal, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thanks a million. Appreciate it.
And Cheese On, he was talking about how the horse got his name, but also this horse is actually kin to In Arrears, who was pretty good at 2.
He was very fast, a horse who was capable of 45ing at 46 here at Laurel Park. So you would expect he should have some speed, but breaking from that inside, other horses to the outside. Horse has to have a pretty good mind, and at first out to take perhaps some speed flying on his outside and getting over and trying to maybe shut him off to that turn run. But we mentioned 36 handily from the gate. 3 others worked that morning from the gate, including the filly Theodosia from the Kyle Lynch barn we'll see earlier in the card. So maybe we'll get a good read there on Cheese On from Theodosia's performance early in the card.
Do you think I have an okay strategy just singling Dirty Foot, or?
Well, you've got to single somewhere.
Yeah.
So you either have to be bold here or maybe be bold in the feature.
True.
I would tend to be bolder in the feature, but yeah, you've got to single somewhere.
And I feel like a lot of people might single on Yellow Agate, but we'll get to that race in a little bit.
Sure.
I think it's kind of a red flag to see here in this spot. But we'll turn the page to the 6th race. This is a 2 other than allowance optional claimer, 5.5 furlongs on the turf, and this is a very good race. We've got Little Firefighter coming back to the turf, Elegant Supermodel. We also have Catching Fireflies, One Last Shot, probably the most accomplished turf sprinters. And a reminder, we do have a carryover in the late pick 5, just shy of $3,500. So I expect that to get a lot of action today. So you have these kind of proven turf sprinters, and I go against them a little bit here. I prefer the 9 Broken Bridle for trainer Gary Capuano, making her second start off the shelf. And we'll show you the video spotlight replay that she comes out of. And she was really kind of boxed in between or behind horses the entire running of the race, and sometimes that's what happens when you draw an inside post position at turf sprints. But other than that, I thought it was actually an encouraging performance given the way that Daylight Ahead ran. And I thought that she ran on pretty gamely in the latter half of the race, just could not quite catch the winner.
Well, I guess being boxed in is better than having a broken bridle during the race, right? So, yeah, she's 0 for 2 at the distance sprinting. She seems to be perhaps just a tad better going longer, but I wouldn't rule out that she could win sprinting here on the turf, Gabby. And then she's had that race under her belt here at Laurel this year, sprinting on the good ground, firm ground today. And she's pretty versatile. There's no doubt about it. She likes this track. 2 wins, 4 seconds, and a third. But the question is, can she really hustle to get up in the final strides here? She doesn't really have a ton of early speed for that quarter, maybe the first 3/8.
And talking about some of those maybe more accomplished turf sprinters in perhaps Elegant Supermodel, Catching Firefly, One Last Shot, of those 3 horses that I mentioned, who would you prefer?
Maybe the One Last Shot. The Stidham Barn. Again, it's a ground situation here. Yielding at Belmont, good. And now gets firm ground here in Maryland, a very firm turf course, 3 course records last weekend, and good times on the other courses that we've run at the bowl game and the others this yesterday afternoon on Friday's card here at Laurel. You can see in that firm ground down in New Orleans, improving pattern of numbers, and gets firm ground today, and a capable, proven sprinter on the grass, One Last Shot.
I think she's the horse to beat as well, using her in second, of course, using all of those accomplished turf sprinters in that pick 6. Again, race 6 does kick off that pick 5, and we have a nice little carryover to take advantage of today. We'll get to the 7th race on the card. This is a first level allowance, heading out to the main track at 7 furlongs. We have the likes of Parade of Nations in here, American Road with Horacio Caramanos trying to get his 2000th victory, Hill Shadow coming off of an improving effort last time out, and Everybody Loves Rudy coming out of a race going against Timeline. So this turned out to be a pretty interesting race too.
Everybody's got to love the company lines for this horse, right? Last year,
I'd say,
as a 2-year-old, Practical Joke and Motown. This year, Ella Reeb and Timeline. So on a class consideration, he's got to be on everybody's tickets, that's for sure.
I agree with you. And, looking at his form, he wasn't really that fast at 2, coming out of the gate. So I think that this might be a horse that'll be even better at 3, just because he couldn't quite keep up with some of his 2-year-old company last year.
Yeah, and second to 09 Dionysus this year at a mile. the thing that gets me about him a little bit is his kind of sporadic. He was lightly raced, I guess, as a 2-year-old. Not, he had a little break there, but this year's a 3-year-old. January, then the February, and then April. A couple of gaps there in his record, but certainly softest company I think he's seen maybe in his career.
Absolutely, and that's probably going to be key for him. But American Road is no slouch in the way that Linda Rice continues to roll at the Pimlico meet, at the Laurel meet. She keeps on winning, and this horse is cutting back in distance, which will probably only help him. And I think that he's a little bit more tactical than Everybody Loves Rudy.
Well, he was a 40-cent to $1 favorite, beaten last time out, but that was on a muddy track, Go ahead, leave out Linda Rice and see what happens. It's a bad thing to do here in Maryland with a 50% win percentage, 80% in the money during the last Laurel meet for the Rice Barn.
All right, we'll get to the 8th race to kick off the final pick 3 of the day. We go out to the turf course at 1 mile and a 16th. Non-winners of 2 lifetime in for that $16,000 tag. This was the race that I had a very, very tough time with. I think I used 6 horses in the pick 6. Help me, Dave. Help me out here.
Well, you're looking at the wrong person for help here. Invisible
Any
Crown.
insight?
Invisible Crown, I think, deserves a second look in here at that price. Carlos Delgado, apprentice rider with a turf win yesterday afternoon, helping to carry over the pick 5 and the pick 6 for today. I loved his race here at Laurel. 2 races back. He was third, beaten 2 lengths, and actually strong middle fractions from that horse in comparison to the winner there, Forever Bernardini. He's a winner on this grass course, a third-place finish on this grass course as well. Maybe overlooked at a good price today, Invisible Crown.
Not overlooked by me. I picked him right smack on top
you sure
today.
did. Okay.
So maybe I should have singled here with a long shot.
Well.
The 11, he's one wild dude. I thought you probably wanted to use him, but he sometimes seems to run to his competition, not in a negative way. I thought that he's been in decent form. Bourbon Commander, first time coming back into Lacey's Barn last time out, albeit on the dirt, did wind up winning. He's trying to get that elusive victory, though, on the turf, and he breaks from not an optimal post position today.
I'm still wondering whether he's maybe a little bit better sprinting. You remember that ride when he broke his maiden by Trevor McCarthy, one of the better rides we've seen by Trevor. Got him up in time, ran down Party Regent in the stretch. He just doesn't seem to have a lot of follow-through that last 16th of a mile. A little concerned about that. For he's one wild dude.
Slippery slope towards the inside. We saw, I believe it was yesterday. Was it? No, it was last week. Mike Duralis had a pretty nice turf winner. So slippery slope, blinkers go off. This horse is going to be a speed play. I just don't know if he likes going 2 turns on the turf best. He seems like he shows speed and then just can't sustain that all the time.
Well, he's coming off a layoff for one. They tried the blinkers his last 2 starts last year as a 5-year-old. The blinkers come back off. Didn't really help or change his running style. With the addition of blinkers last year, he was still up there, speed, and had to find that extra gear in the last 1/8 of a mile. But if he's ripe and ready to go, and the Duralis barn is hot, it could be a danger this afternoon. He's a good double-digit morning line price. I would think maybe that he's got a chance here if he's ready and can get out there and can control things.
I have a lot of respect for the Mike Duralis barn. I think they do a fantastic job, so I wanted to use that horse too in the pick 6. We'll get to the featured race today. I wanted to spend some time on this race because it is so good. The Alma North going 7 furlongs on the main track, and we'll start locally with Shimmering Aspen, and Rodney Jenkins was left in a difficult place in having to decide, do we cut this filly back in distance after the 7/8 win to the Miss Preakness at 3/4, or do we stretch her out to 2 turns in the Black Eyed Susan? They ultimately decided to stretch her out to the 1 1/8 in Black Eyed Susan. And I don't think it was a bad decision. She actually wound up going off as the favorite in that race. So the betting public thought that she was capable of doing it. But as we'll hear from Steve Hamilton, not a lot went his way that particular day. So we caught up with Steve Hamilton a couple days ago. Here's what he had to say about Shimmering Aspen.
Well, she came out of the race really well. She rested up a little bit and just let her get back on her feet. And Mr. Jenkins does a great job with her. We're looking for big things from her. She breezed real well last week, and just looking for a big effort.
Your thoughts on the Black-Eyed Susan and that experience as a whole?
Well, there was a few things I think that played against us. For one, she'd run twice this year, but she was never really asked. She did it in hand both times. Then right before we went in the gate, the sky just opened up and the track was, playing against us down on the inside. I guarantee it was a foot deep down there. And she had the worst of everything, but still had a great trip from where we started. And, like I said, she come out of the race well, and we're just looking forward now.
How do you think she'll like cutting back in distance to the 7/8?
I don't think she'll have a problem with that. She's a pretty keen filly, so I think she's going to put us right in the race early anyway. So just hope for the best.
Thanks very much, Steve. Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
That was jockey Steve Hamilton talking about Shimmering Aspen, and of course we'll go back to her blowout victory. This was 2 starts back on the 29th of April. She showed so much speed inside 7/8. Could we see a similar performance like this today?
We very well could. This is easily one of the better performances we've seen by a young filly sprinting here at Laurel Park. Look at the stride on her. And as Steve Hamilton mentioned in the Black-Eyed Susan, things didn't go her way. Had post 1 early in the day, you would think that was a great post for her. Speed was holding inside. Then the rain came. The skies opened up at Pimlico. And at the top of the stretch, in calling the race, I thought she had to be 1, 2, 3. And she went from on the lead at the 8th pole to 7th in that race. So she's got a fast track that turned back to a sprint today. Shimmering Aspen looking to rebound in a big way in the Alma North Stakes.
I thought it was very interesting also what Steve said was that she was never really asked. She never got to the bottom of herself in the 2 races prior to the Black-Eyed Susan. But now she's been tested. She's been tried in the Black-Eyed Susan. She's probably learned a thing or two last time out. Think from an experience standpoint and just the way that she's so quick and how she handles Laurel, she's going to be very tough in here. Now, there does seem to be other speed in here. Can she out-sprint them early with an inside post position is the question. But we must move on to the potential heavy favorite in here, and that is the 4 Yellow Agate for Christophe Clement. We haven't seen her since the Breeders' Cup. We'll take a look at that performance, and this was actually her winning the Frisette. So we'll start off with that, and she clearly was a filly that showed a lot of talent in her 2-year-old season.
So the Frisette at Belmont Park was a Grade 1 race. So obviously it gives her a big headline here and a little leg up on the other runners. She was running without Lasix that day, had a rough trip with the addition of Lasix in the Breeders' Cup. Well rested since. She's a very accomplished filly coming off a time away from the races. But she better have her running shoes on with a speedy filly like Shimmering Aspen down to the inside today.
And do you think this is an interesting spot to see her? Because she seemed like she was okay at 3/4 first time out at 2. I was actually talking to Dave Grenig this morning on a radio show that I did. He said, well, why wouldn't we see her in the Jersey Girl, coming back off the shelf? That's a 3/4 race. So my thinking is that Christophe Clement wanted to find maybe softer spot for her to come back off the layoff, and he didn't find it today.
That's exactly what I was about to say. If you're looking for a soft spot, you didn't find it here in Maryland. A good thing about that race of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies is Valdorna, the 3rd place finisher, came back to win her next start, and she recently was seen in the Fairgrounds Oaks running 3rd to Farrell. So all the company lines are there. Question is whether she's quick on her feet at 7 furlongs to outgun early. Perhaps Shimmering Aspen, who will be in a prime spot if she fires today at the quarter pole.
I wanted to move on to the 5 Sine Wave. Last time we saw her was in the Grade 3 Beaumont at Keeneland, and we'll show you this replay picking up from the half-mile pole, obviously defeated by Sweet Loretta, who was the heavy favorite in that particular race.
She was no match for Sweet Loretta. They went pretty quick in the middle in that race. Florence Roux was on her that day, and you could tell from the gate they really didn't want any part of the lead with her. They tried to take her back and rate her just slightly off the pace, then asking her to go here on the turn in a nice little middle move and fairly good fractions in the Grade 3 Beaumont. So she doesn't have to have the lead. Now, why do I say that? Because she broke her maiden here at Laurel, coming from well off the pace, 4 or 5 lengths off the pace, but from 5th to 1st to surge to run down a good filly named Lift Up. That race received a 60 buyer figure, but 85 mental figure in my mind, if you know what I'm saying. Like
Yes.
sometimes horses visually run a little bit better than their figures on paper would project, and I think she's a nice filly. Now they could have run her at Delaware Park, was it a couple days ago?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was a $50,000 stake going long, but they opt to come here to run for 75 against the Grade 1 winner and Shimmering Aspen. I think they like her today.
And I think the main question for this race and how you play it is, do you want some of these lightly raced fillies like Sine Wave, who only has 3 starts in her career as a 3-year-old filly, like Yellow Agate, who's coming back off the Breeders' Cup we haven't seen since her 2-year-old season? Or do you want horses like Shimmering Aspen, who have already gone 2 turns and are turning back to 7/8, or a horse like a Stroll in the Park, who does have an outside post position, gets 7/8 for the first time? I actually landed on this Larry Jones filly because I thought she had a pretty bad break coming out of the gate in the Grade 3 Miss Preakness last time out. And not only that, Dave, she was parked about 5-6 wide the entire running of the race. I think if she can harness her speed early a little bit, I think her speed is definitely valuable in this particular race, but I think she can control from the outside really where she wants to be positioned. I don't think she's going to have trouble getting 7/8.
Well, I think that work at Delaware Park probably sealed the deal for Larry Jones. A good 59 and change work in a filly that perhaps is improving. She did lose pretty much all chance at the start in stumbling there. That was a solid field, loaded with speed in the Miss Preakness Stakes. Managed to close a little bit of a gap. And the winner there, Vertical Oak, who won the Grade 3 Miss Preakness with a 90 buyer figure. That's not a slouch of a number for a young filly sprinting.
Exactly. So a Stroll in the Park will have to do it for me, trying to beat the heavy favorite Yellow Agate, but Shimmering Aspen, really looking forward to her coming back since the Black Eyed Susan.
So if you're looking for us to help you with a single in the feature today,
good luck.
good luck.
That's why I singled Dirtyfoot, and I'm
All
hoping
right.
for the best. Dirtyfoot, to me, seemed like a lot more logical single because he's got an outside post position. He ran very well first time out, and he got beat by a horse that won the Tremont. So I had a more difficult time in trying to find a single in the featured race, though, and what a featured race it is. We get to the 10th and final. Quick thoughts on this as we need to wrap things up, but 1 mile and a 16th on the turf for this open $11,000 claiming event. I did ultimately land on the 6 Jose Seaview. Had a bit of a trouble trip last time out. I don't think it highly compromised him watching the replay a couple of times. I don't think he necessarily liked the turf. I think it was a little bit too tough, so more manageable group.
Again,
today.
back to firm ground today and back to a turf course that apparently likes here. Off the claim for the Bruno Tessore barn, 1-for-1 at Laurel. That was really a visually impressive move from Jose Seaview. The pace was quick, but not ultra quick. That was ultra quick pace that day, and ran into a really solid pace that day. And but without a straw in his path, he came rocking and rolling down the lane to get the job done. I just think he's going to like this turf course, the firm going today.
I agree with you. Other than that, I thought Zen's Land might be a horse to use. Did you like any?
No.
Did any maybe priced horses pop out at you?
No, I mean, Zen's Land was a horse that kind of caught my eye. Last year, a troubled trip at Pimlico back the summer of last year. Actually caught the horse at a decent, next time out, didn't pay a decent price, but won. The question is why they're dropping this horse in for $11,000 today from a real sharp barn, the Sibeli barn.
She probably
I don't
wants
really
to
have
win.
any hints, yeah. So yeah,
Right.
I would tend to think that the pace is fast. You'll see Jose Seaview with his final quarter-mile kick try to run them down in the stretch. By the way, this race is at 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. I believe it's not in any of the programs. There's an error
Yes.
on my proof here. I was asked to announce that.
Okay,
so,
mile and a 6. It's on the final cut of DRF.
Right,
So
DRF it is, right.
Yes,
but,
mile and a 16th
some
on the
of you may
turf.
not have that. Right.
Maybe not in the program, so definitely take note of
It's
that.
in the conditions, but the diagram may not be there for you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of that, some of the scratches and changes, we're going to step aside. Thank you for joining us here on the Saturday edition of Today at the Races. Dave Rodman will be up next with those scratches and changes. Best of luck on today's program.
Good luck with your single, whoever it may be.